got plenty of time in a tournament, especially in a 9-round, potentially 8-round tournament in this. It is not easy to do if you've ever been a part of card games, but we do have our first round right here. It's going to be Jason overplaying Blurple and Tofu. He's got Ailstrike Gundam right there. So a little bit of variation of why we'll see eventually what his deck is fully comprised of. But it's going to be interesting in this one as we get into the first game. We see on Tofu's side as well that it looks like it's blue-white just based on his hand. You know, you see a Lilfrith in there. I believe there's an Amuro Ray as well.
Yeah, and you're totally right. I saw both those cards as well, and I think this is an interesting matchup. A matchup we'll probably see multiple times today. We're going to get to see how the aggro player wants to go into what is a control deck in blue-white.
So Jason winning the die roll. Looks like he's opting to go second with that EX resource, and on Tofu's first turn, just going to go ahead and pass. Jason here going on his first turn, going second. Looks like he's going to start playing out GM, and the weenie rushes have come.
Yeah, and this is what we expect to see from Blue Purple. I mean, they have the opportunity to really play the tempo game and get ahead of their opponent by creating a board and going wide with these low costing units.
And so after going in with a healthy curiosity in the turn, looks like Jason just going to be building up the board, and you see no swing with the GM, even though it did have the opportunity to remember units more often than not, unless it says otherwise, have summoning sickness in the Gundam card game. Didn't want to go ahead and expose that body right away. And so Tofu playing a Lilfrith, he's going to be able to establish one of the better blocker bodies on the board.
Yeah, and he could have felt pretty secure swinging with that GM because there was really no reason not to. Because at 3 resources, you really can't interact with it. You can't attach a pilot and give something rush really. So he could have swung it, but there's just no reason to, as we see him go here into shields.
Yeah, and using the Fatal Strike to be able to remove a level 3 or lower body on the field, including Lilfrith, allows those 2 swings to go in and clear the EX base and more, as well as just establishing more bodies. Looks to be in a pretty decent spot in this one so far.
Yeah, and our blue purple player is just doing what blue purple does, getting very far ahead in this matchup by just going wide. And these high occurrence are not easy to deal with. If I play Sword Strike and Akira here, I can't lift one. I have to attack into one and then lift the GM. And you're still leaving a high occurrence on the board. Thankfully, he has these Rick Dias's though.
Rick Dias, a great card in this blue-white blockers deck, especially as a 2-cost 3-power unit, right? Especially with that 3 power and 3 health. He'll be able to freely block one of these bodies, especially maybe GM or the other weenie over on the side, and be able to still survive, but ends up taking the first swing. It looks like it's going to be a burst of a base. So going to be putting that to the hand and leaving that on the field. And you always love to see a base burst.
Yeah, and that base is going to be very important for him because it's Archangel, I believe. I think that's just like the alt art version of it, and which allows blockers to swing and then, you know, unrest themselves and go back to the active position by paying a resource. So very good card, and we could see the effect come up quite a few times here.
So looks like Jason going to be playing over his base. He's going to be playing white base. White base, definitely a nice one to be able to play out more units on the field. Some of the tokens that we've got in the Gundam card game. So going to be swinging there and blocking with Rick Dias, doing a trade on both of those purple units. Now thinking about playing a little bit more. Still has 2 resources left to be able to use, and it looks like he's just going to spread out the field a little bit more with the GM.
I actually think playing that GM was a mistake. He had 2 resources up when he played the GM and could have used white base to create a 2/2 token. The only reason why you would play the GM is because you fear Ale Strike coming down here and lifting something so that the GM you would still keep in hand, but you would have done the same thing by using the white base. So could have kept a card in hand.
So it is going to go in with a pair right here. I believe
Yep.
this is Ailstrike, right? Going in, and with that, Kira, as you mentioned, just removes that body off the field, and now clearing out the other body means that Jason's got nothing at this point.
Yeah, I mean, the blue-white player has, survived long enough to get to the curve, and they are now doing the things they can do with Ale Strike to try to even up this matchup.
So Barbatos coming in right now with a pair with Mikazuki is going to be able to put some damage onto that Ailstrike Gundam and is going to be good in the offensive phase now.
Yeah, and
Gonna be
just going
clearing
going.
that. Oh,
Oh, I was just gonna say the same thing. Clearing that base, I think, is really important.
yeah, especially when you can have a body against like a very defensive deck like blockers. Anytime that you can have one swing just clear an entire base, whether that's a 5 health base or maybe a 6 health base that we see in some green decks, you'll love to have that, and it's going to be good to continue the tempo in this game because that's what Jason has to do with this deck. He has to continue to push the tempo and put Tofu on the back foot.
Yeah, Jason, I think, has realized what his win condition is going to be this match, and he's decided that, I need to go at the shield area instead of playing the board, because he could have swung into Ailstrike, but instead he's going to say, I'm going to make you swing into my units.
And so pairing the Gundam RX with the Amuro Ray is going to rest at 5 HP or lower unit, which is that GM. And now Ailstrike going into Barbatos with Kira's one attacking effect is going to -2 the attack on the Gundam Barbatos. So then there is no trade, right? The Ailstrike, even though only has a little HP left, is still on the field as a potential body and is going to ask for resources for Jason. Playing out another base of Archangel is just going to pass off the turn. And once again, Jason's board, it's supposed to be swarm, but it's all gone right now.
Yeah, and we can see by looking at Jason's hand here that he has 2 cost 2 Barbados, and he's going to be able to ping and remove this Ailstrike, which is good. But at the bottom line is we don't have the cost 1 units like we hoped. We would have loved to see more GMs to help flood this board.
I'm really curious as to why you don't use white base first and then play Barbatos to get the 3/3 token out in comparison to the 2/2, but is just going in for a wide board, just trying to get bodies onto the field. And now going in with that ping, as you mentioned, to clear that Ailstrike since it had 1 HP left, and we pass off to Tofu's turn.
Yeah, I think that was just a sequencing mistake on the white base there from Jason. Happens in a tournament. It's the first round. You're prone to just kind of trying to get a feel and getting into the tournament.
Especially on the stream match too. There's a little bit of added nerves in here. You got a spotlight on you. You know that people are watching, but all you got to do is move forward from there. Is going to go with a healthy curiosity to go ahead and draw 1. And so now going in with more Gundam RX and Amuro shenanigans to be able to control this board, and especially with the repair to this damage that he is going to take on this Gundam RX is slowly going to heal away.
Yeah, and as you noted in the pre-talk before this game started even, is what we're witnessing right now is now we've gotten to the point where blue-white can kind of out-resource you, right? If we're looking at Tofu's hand and Jason's, we're seeing a discrepancy there.
Especially with the boards as well. You'll love seeing multiple RX and Amuros. And definitely remember that repair. That repair is mandatory, but only a 4-card hand for Jason does have a show of resolve in there, so he can fill up the hand a little bit more, but how much more is enough, right? There is white base as well in this hand. White base would be able to produce another token on the field, although a small token is still a body, and that's just consistently what you have to do in this one. But starts out with the show of resolve just to maximize, see all of his options there. Finds another Mikazuki pilot in the hand as well as a GM.
Yeah, he actually has some cool lines here. He could play the 2-drop with Mika and double ping this Gundam and then swing his 2/2 token to remove one of these Gundam Amuros, and then he could just send the rest at shields and say, you have to deal with me with your only one Gundam on board. So we'll see what approach Jason takes here. He's going to have to decide what his win condition is at this point.
Just thinking about starting out with a 2 damage attack with the Gundam Barbatos adapt over at the Archangel is going to deal 2 damage to it, obviously, because there's no blockers on the field right now for Tofu, and is going to play another one down on that deploy. You deal a damage to a one of your units and an enemy unit, so it's just going to choose from the RX, especially because both of them have repair. It might not be the biggest of deals, but with the Mikazuki that comes in on here, he's going to be able to deal 1 more damage onto it, and ends up going for clearing the base instead of the Gundam RX. But now the 2-2 going in and taking another shield is going to put Tofu down to 1.
Yeah, and he could have taken the line I said and swung that token into the Gundam to remove the one Gundam, but he's saying this is how I win. You have to deal with my board. You didn't play a blocker last turn with the two resources you had left up, so maybe you don't have any more blockers and I can just win on this next turn.
There is a top deck of Ale Strike, though, in the hand for Tofu. So we'll see if he plays that down even better because he has that Kira Yamato. I'd imagine that's the line he's going to take. It's almost like a 2-for-1 trade, right? You can not only use the when paired level 4 or higher pilot point on the Ale Strike Gundam, as you can see on screen, to remove one of these smaller units, but you can then swing into another unit to remove it if you want. So is going to go for that Ale Strike and Kira combo. As I mentioned, removing the token, and especially as tokens on the field, they get put back in your token pile. It's not like any of these other units that get put back into hand.
Yeah, so he's effectively going to remove everything but this token, but the 1/2/2 because he removed the token, and nothing goes back to our opponent's hand here. So Jason has to think, with only 2 cards in hand, how do I even start trying to think about winning this game next turn?
And so leaving himself with no active blockers, but does still have 1 shield remaining. Could be nice if Jason had another pilot and paired unit to be able to go in to try to go for game, but does not have access to it. Only has one of the 2 Corsica bases that can be in his deck, and also white base as well as another card. So doesn't even have bodies to produce outside of white base now at this point.
Yeah, he really needs to play white base and hope he draws Show of Resolve and then draws a link pair off the Show of Resolve. I mean, we're talking about minute chances here, but that's what you have to try to decide in these games. How do I win?
Especially in these best of 1 matches, just playing to your outs, opts for the Corsica base. So is going to be able to at least put a token out onto the field right here. That Taugi's token is going to be very nice for the aggression, as you mentioned. And with the GM, is just going to widen the board. Does have an Amuro Ray in the hand, but opts to not use it right now. Maybe just wants to wait until there's like only 1 blocker. Maybe get aggressive with the Ale Strike to try to put pressure on Jason, and you use Amuro if there's only 1 blocker to rest it and go for game with these bodies you got on board.
Yeah, 100%. And Jason's saying, like, I don't necessarily lose next turn. I still have, 3 shields behind this Corsica. So, I mean, he's not in a bad position to try to win this game on the following turn, to be honest. You're making Tofu say you got to play blockers.
And especially with Jason not swinging with any of these bodies, right, that he's got on field, this purple body on the near side that we have, that means that he's going to have to force more Amuros to come out of hand. And there's the 3rd Amuro pair, and that's something unlikely that you would see in here. I don't think you would expect a player to have 3 Amuro pairs at this point in the game so far without any use of Show of Resolve or Overflowing Affection card draw. But now we see a little bit of control on the board, just utilizing the Gundam RX. But again, only 1 blocker here, especially if this Ale Strike is all that's left, means that the Amuro Ray might be able to rest the Ale Strike since it has some damage on it.
We're going to see that Freedom Gundam come down, though. So they were able to play another blocker.
Another blocker in here means that Jason's likelihood to get the win in this game is a little bit less at this point. So gotta think about what the best opportunity is for you right now. You could go in with a set of swings, right? You could try to utilize white base to produce another body right now. So at least is going to use the white base to get that shield and almost get like a pseudo card draw in a sense, just maybe for an impactful body to play out on the field. But it is looking like he's going to use that white base right away to get a 1/1 token, I believe, onto the field. And again, just another body.
Yeah, he was playing that white base, hoping for a Show of Resolve or another Amuro or anything pretty much to rest these blockers and go for game this turn, because really you get to a point where you just kind of have to win before they do, or these things just happen.
And so looks like we walked back a little bit. It looks like the judge is just asking something real quick on both players' sides. Maybe doesn't have the exact token. So look at that. Good sportsmanship. Tofu saying, you know what? You can borrow my 1/1 token for this point.
Yeah, and it's the same. It was the same stat line, but it's better to have the right card in there, of course.
So looking at this hand right now, again, does have that Amuro Ray, but I'm not sure if Amuro Ray might be able to get. No, actually, Amuro Ray doesn't get you there. You need a new unit and a paired unit to be able to go for game, I think, since you only have 2 swings, but is going to go for that to rest that Ale Strike since it has less than 5 HP. And so we'll see exactly where he goes with these swings.
Yeah, and he would have needed to ping that Freedom and have Amuro to even rest the Freedom Gundam in the first place. So that's what makes Freedom Gundam so good. That 6 HP is really big for getting around Amuro.
And so is going to go ahead with that Talgeese and trade into the Ale Strike. Just focus on removing the blockers in a sense, right? So
Yeah,
is going to be able to...
Jason's trying to do what he can here. And
is going to go ahead with that swing, deal 4 damage to the Freedom after the block. Play another one. No cards in hand. Everything on the table at this point. And we move into Tofu's turn. A full set of resources right now for Tofu. We'll see what he's got going on.
well, Jason only has 2 shields, so Tofu's just going to swing out here and take the game. And, we saw what Blue White can do. If it can survive long enough and survive that early game aggression, you can get to a point where you can come down with these Ale Strikes and these Kiras and kind of flip the match.